What's up, everybody? Welcome to Move the Sticks. DJ Bucky back with you as we have finished the first round of the playoffs. By the way, did you ever get the firm reason why it's Super Wildcard Weekend instead of just Wild Cards? Because we got one extra Wildcard team. Is that what it is?
Yeah, no. I think that's what it has to be, because before it was Wildcard Weekend, we had what it was 4 total games, like 2 and 2, but now we got 6. So now it's like super. It's big. It's expanded. So
nice.
I don't know. It's a lot of fun, but I do like the fact that we had doubleheaders every day, and I know it wasn't the original plan to have a doubleheader on Monday, but it happened to work out this year, so it was kind of fun to see back-to-back games.
Yep, no doubt. I kind of liked having those 2 games on Monday as well. It's a nice little surprise for us. We're going to recap those games we saw. We're going to preview the upcoming games. Little programming heads up. It's that time, Buck. It's hard to believe it, but it's mock draft time. So I've got that first one coming out later this week. So we'll do an episode, break that thing down, all the decisions. Can you believe it? You sit there, it's like you just get right back into that zone where you're sitting here going, I've been thinking 30 minutes about what this team's going to do, like what the Steelers are going to do with the 20th
so annoying,
pick.
right?
What am I doing?
Annoying, like,
just put a name in there and let's keep the train moving here. We haven't even had free agency yet. Like, let's
overthinking, and you put it up there, and everyone is mad at you because they're not going to pick that. There's no way you're going to pick that. But like, man, we're talking about an exercise in January. That I mean, it's
and then there's like, oh, I could go with some shock value with this one. And I'm like, let's put it in the fairway. Let's move on.
Let's get it done.
All right, let's jump into the games we saw here. Let's start first of all, Bills Steelers 31-17. The Bills get it done in a game where the Steelers, I mean, look, you turn the ball over like that, you're not going to have any chance, especially on the road. Actually made it competitive there for a little bit. But I mean, Josh Allen, Buck, when he's protecting the football, I think he's the best player in the NFL. I really do.
Look, man, he can do so many different things. He certainly has a good argument to be that guy. What I will say about Josh Allen, Joe Brady did a really good job once he took over the offense of trying to diversify the offense a little bit, try and put it on some other guys, not Josh Allen. But the thing that we've talked about, we consistently have talked about it on the podcast, the benefit in having a high-end quarterback, an elite quarterback, is not that you ride him each and every week, but when you get into these must-have moments, these big games, that's when you really unleash him and allow him to be the one-man show that he is. The Josh Allen experience is dynamic in the playoffs, and we had an opportunity to see that against the Steelers. One-man show, he can do it as a thrower, he can do it as a runner. That 52-yard touchdown, unbelievable. The little fake slide, which, look, it's tough on defenders when you chatter your feet a little bit.
15, you get 15 when he does slide. I was watching that going like, what do you want these guys to do?
So it's tough, but it's also tough to bring down a guy who's 235, 240 pounds that runs like Josh Allen. And when he's able to run quarterback power, he's able to scramble and do that. He finds a connection with Stephon Diggs, even though the numbers weren't terrific. This offense is tough. And I will say this because I was skeptical when the move happened. Sean McDermott's done a really good job with his defense. Like, their defense is kind of creative. It's kind of crafty. They do a really good job of kind of creating turnovers. We talked about them being a top 5 team in sacks. He's done a really good job with it. So this is a solid overall team. And we will eventually talk about their matchup with the Kansas City Chiefs. But DJ, I kind of feel like some of these scuffs and scrapes and calluses that they've developed over the last couple of years, including this year, should make them well prepared to be able to kind of make that run to do it all this year.
Yeah, no, I look, you want to have adversity. You don't want your adversity to come in the postseason. Maybe the Dallas Cowboys are the greatest example of that. Like, they kind of had their battle scars, and I think there's something to be said for starting the playoffs early. When you're in must-win mode for a month plus, you're playoff ready. You're ready to go, and I think you've seen that with Buffalo. And it is kind of in case of emergency break glass. They just kind of hold. They're a little more patient with Josh early in the year with the run and stuff, and then say, okay, hey, this is go time now. And that's a club he has in his bag. It's a nightmare, absolute nightmare for teams to deal with. On the Pittsburgh side of things, I was a little befuddled of why they didn't come out run it a little bit more than they did. They had some success when they ran the ball, but it just didn't seem like they were ultra committed to it as I thought they might be.
Yeah, just a weird approach for the team. Like, what they did successfully to kind of get them to this point, they kind of went away from it in terms of not running the ball, not being fully committed to running the ball, and then the turnovers and the errors, I would say the shoddy tackling on the perimeter. They just didn't get it done. To me, the biggest thing that came out of the Pittsburgh game was, I don't know if you had a chance to hear Najee Harris's post game comments, and in the
No, I didn't
post
see
game.
it.
So in the post game thing, he's kind of in the scrum, and he was saying like, "Hey, we got to clean up some in house stuff. We need more discipline. We need guys that are committed." Kind of those things. And DJ, because you and I spend so much time like studying culture, the buzzword,
Yep.
team building, or whatever. To me, my ears perked up because when he says that for a reason. That there's some things that are going on that he certainly is annoyed by. And then you start reflecting on, well, he came from Alabama. Everyone knows the machine that Alabama is when it comes to being buttoned up from top to bottom. And so he's either alluding to two things. Either there's a lack of structure and consistency at the top, meaning that, they're kind of allowing things to happen, or there's some players that aren't all the way bought in to how things need to be done to achieve at a high level. So you know how Saban talks about you can't put high achievers and mediocre people in the same room. It doesn't work. They have different standards for each other's behavior. So it's either Najee's frustrated by maybe a lack of control or a lack of a consistent routine or standards, or some of the players aren't doing whatever. So remember a few weeks ago, George Pickens, Deontay Johnson, they've kind
George
of been
Pickens,
issues.
that report came out that he's been fined like over $200,000 this year.
DJ, maybe that's what he's alluding to.
Like, and I know some of that's from the team, so I'm assuming
a lot of that was the team.
Yeah.
Not on time, not taking care of details, not doing the stuff that you need to be doing. Man, it's hard to win with that. And so when we talk about high achievers, mediocre people, it's hard when you have certain guys that are all about the team, all buttoned up. We want to do this. You got to be on time. You got to be early. You got to do the extra work. And then you have some others who may not be doing that. It's hard for that team to coexist.
Yeah, and I think you saw the opposite with Buffalo. I think Josh Allen said in his interview right after the game, which was, "Hey, we're connected. We are a connected team, and we've kind of been through battles together. We've stuck together." You've noticed that even though Diggs wasn't getting the ball much over since Joe Brady took over, you haven't heard anything because they're winning. He seems to be kind of bought in about chasing the ultimate goal here, and maybe some of that comes with some personal sacrifice on the numbers. This game he caught 7 balls, but only 52 yards. The ball's been spread around, as you mentioned. But I think maybe that was the difference. He's talking about how we're connected and we're together on this thing. Whereas in Pittsburgh, maybe not all buying in terms of all doing what they need to do.
Yeah, and we say this. I know this. Just because your team is connected doesn't guarantee that you win. But there's never been a championship team that has not been connected.
That's the point.
And so you have to be, man, chemistry matters. Everyone being on the same page and aligned and, kind of pulling the boat in the same direction. All this stuff matters. And in the postseason, I think it really shows up. We talked about Dallas and Green Bay, that game. That Dallas team didn't look connected under pressure, but the Green Bay Packers did. The Detroit Lions, how connected they look. I mean, there's something to that part. And it's not a magic formula, but as a team builder, you got to always look around and kind of see like, hey, are we getting along? Do we have any clicks that are beginning to form that could be detrimental to the development of the team? We need to break all that and squash all of that stuff up. That stuff showed up, and it definitely showed up in the last game, the Philadelphia Eagles and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Well, if you think about the military and how they have it structured in different rank and class, right? I don't think this is I don't think Najee Harris that's a shot at the colonel. Like if you're looking at Mike Tomlin, but when you don't have a quarterback, like there's a break in the chain of command there in terms of being able to hold people accountable and set the standard. They have it in Buffalo. They have that guy.
Yep.
There's a gap between the head coach and then when you get down to all the regular soldiers here, you need somebody in between there, and they don't have that.
Well, I mean, who would you say is the leader on that on that offense? See, because if you don't have a quarterback, you got Mason Rudolph, Kenny Pickett, Mitch Trubisky, all those guys are revolving door at quarterback. You don't really have a gray beard on the offensive line. What I would say, and I'm saying this, immature guys on the perimeter.
Yeah, well, I think there's no question about it.
At wide receiver. So who's
Freiermuth is still young, So.
Yeah, so who's the person that's like, hey guys, we got to be on the same page. Let's go. I don't know. And so maybe that is some of the stuff, and it's just hard to do it. And as a coach, you can do so much, But the best teams are player-led teams, not coach-led teams.
No doubt. And to me, you've got to have, you have to have not only some years and some experience, but you have to have had some individual success as well to kind of garner that respect and that attention. And I don't know that they have that guy. Something they're going to try and figure out here in the offseason. The other game yesterday, we had Bucks Eagles, and it was interesting. We talked about this, and I said it's hard for me to. What are the Eagles giving you to buy in on here to say they're going to win this game? That being said, I still thought, well, maybe they just find a way and they'll win by one. They'll just kind of run the ball. And Buck, they're so bad defensively. It's one of the worst tackling displays I've seen, especially in a playoff game. I mean, goodness gracious, like not even getting hands on guys. So terrible defensively from their side of things. Baker Mayfield played lights out and did what he should have done. I mean, you've got guys open. He cashed the chips in. He played well. It's looking like, with Jason Light, and that signing was one of the best quarterback moves we've seen in the last few years with what they got him for and what they're getting out of him. So impressive from that side of the ball. And then Todd Bowles, one of the reasons why we thought this was going to be a nightmare matchup for the Eagles was he can dial it up pressure-wise, blitz-wise, creativity, and they got home repeatedly.
They got home. There's so many things to take away. And so I want to make sure we give the Buccaneers their just due. Baker Mayfield was amazing. He was on point from the start. They had opportunities to really blow this out early. Mike Evans drops a pass that he normally would catch. He dropped it right down to shoot, perfect location. They come back and score again. And they kind of had their way attacking the secondary defensively, all pressure all the time, just relentless with their pressure. And the Philadelphia Eagles never changed. They didn't go to anything differently. They didn't run the ball enough to kind of change the way that you attack them with your pressures. They just kind of lined up and empty and say, hey, we're going to attack this blitz pressure and not necessarily have an answer. For the Buccaneers, and you talked about Jason Light and Baker Mayfield, I will say this, having personally experienced it when went down with the Jacksonville Jaguars on Christmas Eve and watched Baker Mayfield. DJ, when you talk about connectivity, I think Baker's done a really good job of learning all those lessons while he bounced around. That when he came to Tampa, he might have been at a point where the humility kind of matched the hunger that everyone was around the program. So he was humble and hungry. He goes in, he connects with the team. They've told me, like, man, this dude hangs out with the offensive linemen. He turned down opportunities to do kind of like endorsements and stuff that would be more him-centric to be about the team. I think that played really, really well in the locker room. And the one thing that everyone could say when he was coming out of Oklahoma, his confidence and swag and all that is real. And when channeled the right way, when it's really him and the team, guys love playing for a guy that is confident like that. I think you see a Tampa Bay Buccaneers team that really loves playing with their quarterback. I think that's why we've seen the success that they've had down the stretch. Because remember, this team, I think, lost 6 out of 7 before getting hot down the stretch. You don't bounce back from losing 6 out of 7 unless the locker room is intact and the leadership is there.
Yeah, I think there's 2 different Baker Mayfields, right? There's walk-on Baker Mayfield that had no attention and no hype and earned everything he got. And then there's first overall pick Baker, which, look, just because of that, you're going to have different expectations from those around you, and everybody's going to look and expect different things from you. And not only in terms of play, but in terms of how you might be a little separate from everybody else because you are that guy. I think he's got a chance to kind of tap back into walk-on Baker. Everybody's kind of doubted him now. He's bounced around. He gets to go in there and just kind of be himself. And that you talked about hungry and humble. Yeah, I think that's a pretty good way to describe the way he is there. And I also think in some ways coming into a place that's had Tom Brady, like, look, I'm not him. Know that. I know that. I'm not going to pretend that I'm him. We're going to win because of who we are collectively. And I'm just going to be one of you. I'm going to be one of you guys. And I think that was one of the things that you heard about him at Oklahoma. I remember going down there watching him play and talking to coaches, and that they all said the same thing. I just think it's hard when you're the first overall pick. It's just different. Everything. It's different.
It changes everything. It changes the weight of being the number 1 overall pick, the expectations from the outside world. They expect you to be a star. They expect you to be, remember, we talked about top 5 guys. Can you envision them having a gold jacket? Can you envision them as a multiple-time All-Pro or Pro Bowl player? That's a lot on the quarterback, then you jump in as the number one overall. They expect you to be the franchise guy and kind of have all the answers and elevate the team, maybe even before you're ready to do that as a quarterback. Now he stepped into a team that won a Super Bowl a few years prior. They didn't need him necessarily to elevate it. This was a team that might have looked at him like, hey, man, you just do your role. We're good enough to do the other stuff. And there's a difference in being that guy. And I think what he's come in is he's shown people that, oh, I can manage the game if I need to, but I got more than just that in the toolkit. He's shown people that, look, at times he certainly can be the game changer and kind of put it on his back and make some plays. And we had an opportunity to see some of that last night.
There's a difference between hitting sixth in the order and hitting third in the order. You know
yeah.
It's different. Some guys are just better. Better equipped to hit sixth, and that's what he gets to do for this team. Two quick things, and then we'll move on. We'll take a break. One thought, team building wise, is we always like to pull that together. Everybody needs a Trey Palmer. Okay, every team needs a wide receiver that can absolutely go, and that means I don't have to give him 5 touches, 10 touches, but in one play, he can put points up because of that speed. And Trey Palmer did it with that, 56-yard touchdown, where the Eagles couldn't even get a hand on him. So everybody should be, if you don't have a guy like that can run like that, you can find them every year, third, fourth round. They're out there. Go get one, plug them into your offense. I think that was one takeaway. The other one was, I know with A.J. Brown not playing, I think we got a chance to see sometimes guys get labeled as really good number twos because they haven't been given the full opportunity to be a number one. I'm watching that game last night thinking Devontae Smith's the number one receiver, man. Like that, he is unbelievable.
He was terrific. And I've always referenced A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith as 1A, 1B, because I felt like they were code number ones. Injuries played a part in why they weren't able to kind of like share the mantle this year, but he was terrific. He did a really good job of making plays. He stepped up, because there were no plays to be made, and he found a way to kind of like make some stuff happen. I also, when I look at teams and we talk about team building or whatever, fast teams win. You got to have a fast team if you're going to make plays. Like speed is such a big part of creating big plays on offense, creating splash plays on defense, whether it's TFLs, interceptions, knocking the ball loose. The overall team speed matters. And I know we had a discussion on the first part of the week where we talked about the Miami Dolphins and how they needed to play at home or whatever. But their speed, when healthy, their speed can give people problems. They just weren't fully healthy at the end of the year. But when I look at the Eagles and I look at like how they are at the second and third levels, they're not fast enough to create plays. They're not fast enough at linebacker to create splash plays. They're not fast enough in the secondary when you have Darius Slay's older, James Bradbury's older. They have young guys that
Kevin
are playing.
Byard's older.
Yeah, they're older. And so, DJ, as team builders, we know those are the guys that are also on your special teams. Like, so now your special teams are slower, so you're giving up bigger returns. You can't cover. You can't do all that. So all of it plays into the equation. As much as we'll talk about the coaching staff, I still think you also have to look at the personnel and how can we improve the team by making sure we're not only good on defense, but we upgrade the athleticism and explosiveness on our kicking units to give us a better chance of kind of playing ping pong when it comes to field position.
No doubt. That's a good point. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We come back. We will preview the 4 divisional round games. We'll do that right after this.
It's time for the MTS Game of the Week, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. This week, it is the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Buffalo Bills. The spread is -2.5, favoring the Bills. The over-under is 46.5. DJ, let's be honest. This is the game that we all wanted to see, right? So one of the things about the postseason is you want to see some teams have to vanquish their demons. The Buffalo Bills have been dealing with the Kansas City Chiefs as their nemesis for the last few years. People can talk about the number of opportunities that they've had to knock this team off. They just haven't been able to do it. Well, now we get a chance to see in the playoffs them knock them off when it really, really matters. And so this counts regardless of the regular season success and all that other stuff. The playoffs are where they will be judged. And so for the Buffalo Bills, this is a big game. It's a game that you have at your house. Everything riding on it. Look, all things are in their favor in this matchup.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. Going back to that earlier meeting, which again, these are different. Kansas
Team.
City, Kansas City, I think, is the most different. I think Buffalo, you can make a case, is very similar to kind of who they've been and the makeup of their team. Kansas
Mhm.
City has flipped. Their defense has gotten so good over the last 2 years and the way they're playing now. I mean, that was a 2017 game. You had that weird call. Patrick Mahomes got all upset after the game was over and said something to Josh Allen, how upset he was. But at the end of the day, I mean, they scored 17 points. Mahomes was 25 of 43, 271, a touchdown and a pick. Rashee Rice lost a fumble in that game. Go back through the Buffalo side of things. Josh Allen, kind of a workman like 23 of 42, 233, and then had 32 yards rushing and a touchdown. So had two touchdown passing and a pick in that game. James Cook had a decent game. But you go back through and look at it, and you were referencing the 46.5 number. I mean, 2-3 years ago, these two teams got together. You were thinking this is going to be 45-41. But the dynamic, it's so funny. They play each other so much, but the dynamic of the game has changed. It's not the same as it was then.
No, it's not the same. And I look, I don't expect them to kind of reach that over under. I think this would be a low scoring game, regardless of what the weather is. In Buffalo, Kansas City hasn't put up the kind of output like that in a long time where we can see them as the explosive, high flying circus that they once were. To their defense has been keeping everybody down. You're talking one of the best defenses in football. To me, this is a lower scoring game. This is one that goes back and forth. I would expect to be it low 20s. But this is a great opportunity for the Buffalo Bills to really rewrite the narrative on their season. They knock up the Kansas City Chiefs. They have a chance to go to the Super Bowl, something that this fan base has been clamoring for since the early 90s. Huge opportunity for the Buffalo Bills.
A couple things here. I know obviously Buffalo's happy to have this game at home, but they don't. Kansas City's got a leg up on them with 1 day of rest, having played a day earlier, so they've got that benefit going for them. And then on the other side of things, you've got Buffalo, who we'll see as the week progresses here, but they got decimated with injuries in that game against the Pittsburgh Steelers, particularly at linebacker. Against Isaiah Pacheco and an offensive line in Kansas City that's shown that that's how they want to play, to be able to move you and get downhill in a hurry with that run game. I think that's those can be neutralizing factors in this game.
Yeah, it can be neutralizing factors, and we saw it kind of play out a little bit. All the injuries left the Buffalo Bills kind of shorthanded on the second level, and we saw Pittsburgh exploit some of that. I would say the biggest thing in this is Kansas City defense is lights out. And so what I wonder, if you can't get Stephon Diggs unlocked, and we've seen Kansas City will double team the number one receiver and really make him a non-factor, who is going to be the person that steps up for the Buffalo Bills? We've seen a bunch of different guys kind of step up in roles, but now when it's on the line, can Dalton Kincaid be that guy? Can they run the ball enough where they can dictate maybe more one-on-one coverage and you can't double team Stephon Diggs? But others have to step up for this to be a success for Buffalo, because Josh Allen's going to do what he does. He just he needs some playmakers that can come along with him.
Other thing I would say is I misspoke. Actually, 2 extra days. They played on Saturday. I forgot about that. Kansas City did. Yeah. So that's a big deal there. One of the things, by the way, I don't know if you saw this, but I know with your buddy coaching secondary there in KC, they did some rotational stuff with their coverage. That was sick. I don't know. I'm like, if I've been living under a rock, I watch a lot of tape. I don't know that I've seen teams do that. Post snap, rock to single high, and then come right back up to the other side. And now you're back in too high. That was dope.
They did it. And so they were really changing the picture on Tua coming down, showing like they had a robber coverage and then dropping back 2-man, which is a challenging coverage to do that. They did some of the punt returner vice double teams on Tyreek Hill, where they stole the page out of the Patriots playbook. Hey, you're a non-factor. We're making sure you're not getting loose. They did all of that. I will say Spags has always been one that is difficult to face because of the blitz pressure and those things. But man, the last couple of years, he's been very, very creative while being sound in the back end. So we haven't seen the big plays that used to be a part of his defense. This is a tough matchup for Buffalo. I'm as much as I want to lean their way, it's hard for me to say that someone's going to knock off the defending champions until I see it. Yeah. That's with Pat Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. And I know it's been raggedy on offense, but their defense has been so good. And I mean, it's Pat Mahomes. And if they have an opportunity to kind of get past this one and put them back in the championship game, DJ,
I wouldn't want to play them.
How could you bet against them? I mean, they just kind of find a way to get it done. And they still have not played their best ball yet, and that's what's scary.
It's unbelievably scary. Rasheed Rice coming along though. That's been a nice development for him. I think this is going to be a really, really close game, come down to the very end, and low scoring, which again just sounds weird to say when you're talking about these two quarterbacks, these two offenses. But I think that we have a little bit of a defensive battle in that one. Looking forward to it.
It should be fun. That was the MCS Game of the Week presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code MCS. New customers can bet just $5 to get 200 instantly in bonus bets only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code MTS. The crown is yours.
All right, Buck. We get to these last three games. We're going to do it rapid fire here. I'm just going to go old school. Bucks win at Detroit because why?
The blitz pressure takes their offense completely out of rhythm. Todd Bowles confounds and confuses Jared Goff and Ben Johnson. They have a tough time kind of sustaining drives, and that allows Baker Mayfield to have enough opportunities for them to be able to put it in the paint. To me, the matchup to watch is the Lions' offensive line against the blitz pressure that Todd Bowles figures out. If they have a tough time with that, it's going to be a long day for the Lions.
Yeah, I would say the Bucks win if they cash in every red zone opportunity. They have to score. Yeah. They left some points on the board, or on the field, I should say, last week against the Eagles, even in a blowout win. They could have made that worse than the 32 that they put up there. That should have been more than that because of some stalled drives. They've got to finish every drive and cash in sevens, not threes. That's how they're going to have a chance to upset the Lions. The Lions win if what?
The Lions win if they are able to run the football and create big play opportunities for their guys on the outside. For as much as I love the pressure that the Bucks bring, I do believe that there's some vulnerabilities in the
100%.
secondary. And if they can get them blocked up at the point of attack, Amon St. Brown and Jameson Williams and Josh Reynolds can make some plays. So to me, really, it's Lions offense versus Bucks defense. That's how the game would be played out. But I will say the secondary for the Lions got to make sure that they don't allow Mike Evans and Chris Godwin go bananas with Baker Mayfield.
No doubt. I would say the Lions, to me, not letting Todd Bowles and this defense get a beat on where Goff's going to set up. Move the launch point, get him on the move a little bit, quick rhythm passing, boot him, but don't let him set up in the same spot every time, or they were going to unleash all the pressure looks and you're going to be in trouble. If they keep them off balance, off rhythm a little bit defensively, I do think Detroit has some ops down the field for some big plays. I think that's going to be key in that ball game. Packers, Niners, Buck. Green Bay pulls the all-time upset here on the road. How?
Well, like I have to dig in the playbook and go all the way back to when I was in Green Bay and back in 95, went on the road. They knocked off the San Francisco 49ers and no one thought that the Packers could do it. It'd have to be a similar game. The Niners helped back then by turning the ball over, allowed Green Bay to have some momentum. And I think that's what would have to happen. I think this is a situation where if the Niners aren't dialed in, if they take the Packers lightly and they don't bring their A game, the Packers are good enough to steal a game on the road. This has to be one where the Packers continue to do what they did, where they control the game. They were able to run the football. They threw it to those weapons on the outside. To me, the Packers have to call the game to get into the fourth quarter so it can be a 15-minute game. So everything that Matt LaFleur does, offense, defense, special teams, when it comes to managing the game, how can I get this to the fourth quarter where I can make the Niners play a 15-minute game against us and we can steal it in the end?
Yeah, it's funny. I was thinking the same thing. They have to survive the first quarter to get to the fourth quarter because they're going to get hit with a fresh leg.
Oh, they're going to see all of it. They're going to see
that first 15 is going to be lethal from Kyle Shanahan in that fresh-legged offense, and that pass rush is going to be all gassed up and ready to go. I actually think that if you can survive and get this into the fourth quarter, okay, that's the formula too. The other thing I would add on there's two approaches to this. When you look at it on paper and say, okay, the Niners should be kind of the heavy favorite, the more dominant team, you can do two things. You can say, I'm going to play slow and shrink the game, hold on for dear life, or I'm going to try and gas these pass rushers out. I'm going to go fast. I'm going to run the ball. I'm going to screen them. I'm going to go and stretch. I'm going to make those dudes run all day long, and we're going to play fast.
So, look, I'm kind of with you. I believe they are better when they're faster than slower, the Packers. What they did against the Cowboys, even though they controlled it, it was in and out the huddle they were going. And I put this on Twitter. I had never seen anybody huddle like that where the offensive line faces the defense and
Yeah.
everyone's there. That's a new revelation for me. The quarterback behind there, because I'm like, he
Yeah.
can't see the thing. But if I'm the Packers, I am trying to play with that tempo. I'm one of the reasons the Niners have been successful is because they can come at you with waves of pass rushes. They've done a
Yep.
really good job of assembling a roster that gives them an 8-9 deep rotation of players. Let's keep them out the game. Hey, Nick Bosa, this don't have to be a 55 play game for you because we're not going to let you off.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to go. Or if they don't play fast all the time, DJ, when they hit a big play fast right after those initial plays. Don't
Mm-hmm.
allow them to change and reset or whatever. And if you can catch them in a grouping that is advantageous for you, make them stay in it. Make them figure out how to play in their nickel or their down defenses and stuff against your 12 personnel and run game.
Yeah, and I feel weird in flipping it over to the Niners. Like, what do the Niners need to do? The Niners just kind of need to be the Niners. I mean, they're good. Their regular performance is going to win this game. They got to protect the football. They got to be smart. I just think like they're the better team right now. So with them, I hate to say it, don't do something. You're better off telling people go out and make plays than telling them don't screw up. But it almost feels like that's what this is. Hey, don't screw up. Don't give them a short field. Make this Packers offense drive the length of the field against our defense, and we'll be okay.
Okay, DJ, one of the things that was really decided, and you brought up the stats or whatever, most of these games were lost, not won, right? And so if you're Kyle Shanahan, you're standing in front of the team, you're saying, hey, guys, let's not beat ourselves. So let's make sure we take care of the football. Ball security is top priority. Let's not give away yards on pre-snap penalties or foolish penalties. And then defensively, no big plays. Keep the ball in front. Make Jordan Love have to drive the length of the field. No explosive plays because you saw it was a feeding frenzy against the Cowboys. They hit a couple big plays, and that young team got juiced up, and they played at a different level. So if I'm Steve Wilkes, no, nothing over the top. You guys are going to have to drive the length of the field. We're going to hit you. We're going to tackle and do those things. And so no turnovers, limited penalties, no big plays allowed. And then the final thing is you got to tackle really well. You need to tackle well because as explosive as the Niners are on catch and run concepts, Packers got some of that too. They got some guys that can wiggle and scoot. You got to tackle well in this game in the playoffs.
No doubt. That game, I think I might be looking forward to that game more than any other. If not that one, I would say this one's right up there with it. Texans, Ravens. Texans, who were lights out against the Cleveland Browns, they get to go out and play the Ravens, get to see them again. So what do they need to do to go in there and surprise everybody and get a win over the number 1 seed?
The longer the game stays close, the more it leans in their favor. So for them, I don't want to play fast. I want to have a deliberate tempo to this game. I want CJ Stroud to be able to see it. I want him to get to the line in plenty of time to be able to decipher all that stuff that Baltimore does when they're walking around and doing those things. There are going to be some holes and some issues where they can attack because as well as the Baltimore Ravens run the triple crown, right? Sacks, scoring, takeaways. They led the league in all those categories. So they understand what they're doing. And so I want to slow the game down. I want to give CJ plenty of opportunity to be able to attack. But DJ, this is what you said in one of the previous games. It's all about red zone efficiency.
Yep.
The Texans have to put up 7s. They can't settle for 3s. Lamar Jackson and the Ravens are going to score just because of the nature of their offense and how special he is. They're going to put points up. But this has to be won. You got to win down in the red zone. You win in the red zone, you have an opportunity.
I think it helps that even though it was his first game, that he saw them in the opener, that Stroud saw that defense. Now, they only scored 9 points.
100%.
He got sacked 5 times in that game. He saw everything that you could see. They threw the kitchen sink at him in that one. So I think having that tape to go back on, and now with all the experience he's gathered since then, man, if you can just eliminate the sacks, that all that hidden yardage comes back in, run the ball a little bit better. They need to run it a little bit better than they did in that first meeting. And you hit on, being able to cash in when you get down there in the red zone. But I think more than anything else, I think it's, man, hey, get the ball out of your hand, get the back foot, see it. And he's done such a good job of that throughout the year. And he's learned so much. I think that previous game does give him a little bit of confidence that he's seen this thing, because it is not a defense you see each and every week. I think that gives them a little bit of hope and a little confidence there, even though they have a tremendous amount of success. On the Ravens side of things, what needs to happen there?
Win the first quarter. Okay, so the thing that everyone is going to point to, and the pressure is on the Baltimore Ravens from this. The last time they were the number one seed, 2019, they laid an egg versus the Tennessee Titans. No one will talk about it. They'll try and kind of sweep it under the rug, but that pressure is going to be felt in the locker room and those things. The best thing that the Ravens can do is jump on the Texans right from the jump. Because we saw in the Cowboy game, when the Packers jumped on them, man, you could just see the pressure swelling up. For the Ravens, jump on them right away. Don't give them a sense that this is a game that can be in play for them. So the first quarter to me is where I'm really watching. Can they jump out fast? The other stuff. I would say to assist in that, Todd Monken, Lamar Jackson need to be on the same page. Hey, what are the best 12 plays that we like coming out the gate? Like, I want us to be doing our best stuff, our most simple stuff when we're nervous. It's almost like a public speaking engagement, right? You know how you say if you can rehearse the first 2 minutes, then the rest of the speech naturally flows. Hey man, we're gonna do our base stuff. They can know what's coming, but we're gonna do our base stuff and come out. I want to make sure that number 8 gets off to a fast start. If they can win the first quarter, then I think they run away from this game later in the game.
Yeah, I think they play backwards. A lot of times you talk about body blows, and then eventually you take your deep shot down the field. No. If I'm Baltimore, we're coming out, we're chucking it early. We're going to come out and get all of our playmakers because this is the best collection of playmakers they've had since Lamar's been there. We're going to come out throwing it, and we're going to get their heads spinning a little bit. And then once we've thrown it, had some success, then we'll start getting the ground game going. I think they come out and be ultra aggressive through the air. I think that's what Baltimore ends up doing. I think it's the right strategy.
And I think what the Texans will do to counter it, like based on how they played Joe Flacco, even though they're different, I think Lamar is going to see more zone than seen. I think Texans want to keep their eyes on him, and they want to make him throw into windows that can close quickly because the defenders are looking at them. Wouldn't expect to see a lot of man coverage. So as aggressive as we're talking about the Ravens doing, Lamar has to be patient. He kind of has to be a patient assassin, like pick and choose when he's going to take his shot. He needs to take the check down early. He needs to take the underneath stuff early. And then when they give him an opportunity, when someone's out of the position, that's when they have to dial it up. I just think they don't want to force the issue too much where they have an early turnover. Because I'm telling you, DJ, if they turn it over in the first quarter, the bank is going to be like, "Whoa, my gosh, here we go again." And so it's one of those things. Throw the jab early. See if you can get an early haymaker, but you just want to pick and choose. Don't give the Texans life by doing it. And I'm not saying take a conservative approach. They just got to take care of the ball. Got to be smart early in the game.
Yep, I'm looking forward to that one. It's going to be a good matchup. Again, that is the first game of the weekend. That is Saturday, 1:30, followed by Packers, Niners. That's 5:15. These are all West Coast times. I should be specific on that. And then you get to Sunday, the Bucks and the Lions. They will kick off at 12 West Coast, 3 East Coast. And then you have the Chiefs and the Bills. That is the nightcap, 3:30 West Coast, 6:30 Eastern. So looking forward to all of those games and a great weekend of football. Anything else you want to add before we jump out of here, Buck?
Nah, man, this is fun. I'm so looking forward to these games. There's not a bad one on the slate. All of them have intrigue. All of them have great storylines and interest. Can't wait to see what happens.
No doubt. Looking forward to it again. Our next episode, we will jump into the first mock draft of the year and have some fun with that. So be on the lookout. Until then, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, and we'll catch you right here on Move the Sticks.